Right, welcome back to the Homegrown Music Podcast. We're on episode 14 now, isn't it? Yeah,
40 or 14?
14.
14, I was about to say.
Yeah, no, not quite 40 yet, but yeah, episode 14.
No.
How are you doing today, Jack? How are you doing?
Pretty tired, but I'm A-okay otherwise. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm pretty sure we start this podcast every time by me asking, how are you?
How
and
I
then
am.
you saying, I'm tired.
I'm tired, yeah. Because I am. That is my default now. My default has been being tired since about the age of 10.
Yeah.
So
fair. I mean,
I think that's most people though. So.
I don't know about you, but it's like you seem to get to a certain age and then you stop having energy. You just can't do things.
We're just old men and we've barely hit 20.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Like I remember I used to be able to run around tirelessly when I was a child, and now it's like I can't even wake up in the morning. So what's
it's
bizarre.
Oh well.
Anyway, man.
But
I thought I'd talk to you because the other day I rewatched for the second time Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's a really good film. And I just wanted to know how you feel about it. What's kind of your opinion on that film? What's your take?
Well, I've only seen it once, and I saw it in the cinema when it first came out, and that was the last time I saw it. I'm pretty sure it's the last time I thought about that film as well.
I mean,
it was pretty decent though.
Yeah. How do you feel about Queen in general? Are you a Queen fan?
Big Queen fan. To be honest, when I heard that they were doing it, which would have been years and years before they started doing it, I was really into it because I was like, oh, I like Queen. I'd do a film about them. That would be cool. And yeah, I mean, I think I stopped being as big of a Queen fan in the period between it being announced and the film actually coming out. So I stopped. I didn't care as much when it came out than I actually did when I heard it was being done. But it was pretty good. And one thing that got me was a lot of people had this problem with it, was that the film, Freddie announces to the group in 1985 that he had AIDS, which I'm pretty certain the fact was he didn't have AIDS until 87, I think it was, or 88.
Oh, really?
So I think they twisted it a bit at the end of the film, but you know, it's a film and you take some creative liberty with it.
Yeah. I think another issue people had with it was that because obviously, you know, when you make something like this, you have to make the decision like age ratings and what can you include in the film and what can't you. So a lot of the kind of you know, negative things and stuff like drug use and a lot of that stuff was glossed over, you know, and wasn't really talked about. And it's almost like I would much rather watch a film that is a bit more mature, let's say, for an older audience, but that is a bit more true to life and gives it a bit more of a realness to it. But I think in general as a film, it's a really good, I think, of that genre of films, you know, about real life people. What's it called? Like a biopic? Biopic?
Yeah, it's not about biographical.
No, but yeah. That kind of genre. I think it's up there. I think it's definitely a good film.
I know a lot of people sort of ragged on the editing of it, and to be honest, I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't speak on the editing. Maybe I'll rewatch it again and rethink my opinion. But I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was quite well put together, and as you say, it does gloss over some of the slightly dirtier, less appealing side of stuff. But you know, that's kind of, I think that's a liberty that they could have kept in. I know back when it was sort of really early stages, Sacha Baron Cohen was in line to play Freddie Mercury, and he was saying, I want it to be like really, he was saying, I want all the dirty, gritty stuff in there. And Brian May and Roger Taylor were like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Because it would probably expose them, because they probably,
probably they probably weren't as clean as they claimed to.
Well, I think they reference Roger Taylor's like loyalty to his wife or something in that film. Like Freddie Mercury or Rami Malek's does like the actor does like a quip at Roger Taylor, and it's kind of a bit like that. There are moments where it's like referenced, and there's like, you can tell there's like clearly what looks like cocaine on the table in a scene, but like obviously they don't really.
We're not gonna go into it.
They gloss over it like mildly, like I felt like they could have really gone, like you said, super dark and gritty with it, but I think what they wanted to make was like a family film with the drama at the center. It wasn't like super detailed and informative, because that's the kind of film you and me would enjoy. Like if there was just like a 2-hour-long film about how they recorded their albums and how they were as people, like as well, but it's more just about drama, isn't it, and pushing this narrative.
Yeah, and I think you've also got to think, Freddie Mercury has nothing to do with the film. He didn't have any input.
Yeah.
And neither does John Deacon. I mean, they barely speak to him anymore, or he barely speaks to them. And so, I mean, at the helm of the film, you've got two guys who, at the heart, really care more about the music, I think. And in terms of portraying Queen's musical journey until 1985, it does a really good job of it. And I mean, everyone, I think, unanimously agrees the Live Aid scenes is really well done.
Yeah.
It's pretty spot on. It's well done.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of those sort of musical sequences in the film, they do some other sort of live like music sections in the film. They're all really well done, and I think it tells that story more than the more Freddie is like really insane and does lots of weird insane stuff. I think they as you say, they sort of hint at some of it, but they don't.
Yeah.
They don't fully go into, like, if I remember correctly, there's a party that he holds at one point, and they're at that, and it gets a bit weird, or like they all become a bit uncomfortable with it, or something like that. Honestly, can't tell you properly because I haven't seen it in a while, but I believe that was in there. So I mean, it's a decent film. What film does capture the more grittier side of it, and I don't know if you've seen it, is Rocket Man, about Elton John.
I haven't, but like you said, I've heard that does go a bit more into detail about his life.
And the difference is where Brian May and Roger Taylor, because Queen's a band, you've got a lot of people inputting to what they want putting into the film. Whereas with Rocket Man, you only have one person who's still alive who decides what goes in, and that was Elton John.
Yeah.
And so he said, I want it to be as proper as possible, obviously without the singing in restaurants and dancing around pubs, that bit's made up. But in terms of portraying what he actually did, it's pretty close to it.
Sure. I'll have to check that out, because I really enjoy films that aren't afraid to kind of go there. Do you know what I mean? Like I still need to watch the Kurt Cobain, it's called like a montage of Heck. I still need to watch that one, because apparently that's really good, but it's really dark.
There was one.
Yeah, well, I think it goes into his childhood, and he had like a really kind of messed up like life, pretty much. Kurt Cobain did, so I think it goes into that. Doesn't shy away from it. One that I'd love to see is like a really like cool, in-depth Led Zeppelin one. I think that would be sick.
Quite interesting.
That'd be, because I think there's a lot of history there you could really go into, because like you could get so many interviews with so many people as well, like, and there's all these kind of intertwining bands, and you know, because in that scene, you know, like Bonham was like a session drummer for like loads of other different bands, and you could have like this really cool like interarching like story with all these different bands. I think that'd be pretty sick.
I think Queen stand out a bit from 70s bands as not being, at least to begin with, not as involved with other people. As you say, Led Zeppelin is involved with tons of people. There's a story that Joe Walsh of the James Gang gave Jimmy Page a Les Paul, and that's the reason he uses a Les Paul, was because Joe Walsh met Page and goes to him, "Oh, what guitar are you using?" And Page was like, "Oh, I'm using like a Telecaster." And Walsh was like, "Yeah, no, you need to go up to a Les Paul." And he gives him his, like, I think it's like 57 Les Paul.
Wow.
And that's the Les Paul that Page uses most of the time in Led Zeppelin.
Damn.
So yeah, and you've got all these sort of bands all interconnecting with each other, and they're all quite involved. And yeah, I think that'd be quite interesting.
I don't know about you, but when I was watching Bohemian Rhapsody, I was just, every time there was a scene where they were playing musical instruments, I was like eyeing up what they were playing. I was like, does that look right? Is that accurate? Like,
it's that close. Yeah, I did it with the piano in Live Aid, because he opens up with the Bohemian Rhapsody intro, and I was watching his hands, because they do a close up on his hands. I was like, he's not playing the right note there. He presses like on the G minor chord, I think he presses an 8 in the bass.
Oh,
I think, or something like that. Like he's slightly off, and I was like, oh, no, it's wrong.
Disappointed. It's one of my favorite things to do is watch films wherever there's like a music scene. Like, it could just be a band in like the background of a bar, and it's got nothing to do with the film. But if I'm not really bothered about the film, I will just be like watching the band and looking at the instruments. I'll be trying to work out, like, did he just hit a snare drum? Because I didn't hear a snare drum. Like, you know, trying to work out like whether they've, you know, matched it up. But I don't know about you.
You can't expect all actors to be able to play the instruments that they've been hired to portray the musician of. I mean, I know the guy who plays Roger Taylor in Bohemian Rhapsody didn't know how to play drums. He went into the audition completely. Yeah. But like, he got the audition and was like, I need to learn the drums like quick. So he like sped, like speed run the process. And I mean,
he could fool me. Like, the way it's edited and stuff looks fairly realistic and accurate.
And the guy who plays Elton John, whose name I cannot pronounce ever, he didn't know how to play the piano, so all the close-ups of in Rocket Man are someone else playing the piano. I think he learned like a couple of songs so that they could get like wide shots of him like sitting there moving. Sure. But other than that, he doesn't know how to play. But yeah, it's quite interesting to watch. One thing that got me, I don't know if you've seen Nowhere Boy, which is about John Lennon's younger life, so from like the age of 15 to like 17 or something, the really early stages of the Beatles. And the kid who plays Paul McCartney, he plays the guitar left-handed in the film, but I don't know if the actor's left-handed or he like physically taught himself.
Wow.
The other way around,
which would be impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think, wouldn't you? And I was watching the film. The kids do seem to at least look like they know how to play an instrument. Yeah. And there's a photo of them in a studio, not in character, just playing music. So I think they do. Okay. But yeah, the kid who plays Paul McCartney is playing left-handed, and I don't know whether he taught himself that way around or
pretty cool. I think the focus in most of these films is like they just want the casting to be good enough that they look fairly similar. Like the casting in Bohemian Rhapsody was insane. Like how good the casting was there.
Yeah.
Another good case of casting I'd say is have you ever seen the Joy Division film? It's called like Disorder or something, or like I think it's called Disorder, and it's filmed completely in black and white. But the guy who plays Ian Curtis is just like the best pick possible, because he like captured all of his mannerisms. It's amazing. I think it was on Prime at one point. I'm not sure if it is anymore, but it was amazing. Like if you get a chance, watch it at some point, because that film really, like, you know how he had those mannerisms on stage, like he had that really jerky like style of dancing that was almost like it was like a seizure, you know, which he sometimes did, you know, have seizures during the music because some like beats and some like literally some drum beats would give him a seizure, and because he had like epilepsy, and it wasn't just the sound. I think it was also like the combination of that with like obviously lights and stuff, and he suffered with that a lot. But he captures that kind of jerky style of dancing that he does when he's singing, and you know, even the singing vocals are great. So that's another good one. If you get a chance, you should check that one out.
Should have a look at it. I mean, the capturing the mannerism of the real person. I mean, the Rami Malek who plays Freddie Mercury is pretty much spot on. Like, Freddie is such a wide performer in terms of how much space he takes up and how like everything he does is just so over the top, and the fact that he captured it pretty much beat for beat as well.
Oh yeah,
is really clever.
You can tell when an actor's like really put in the work to study the person they're portraying, because it's like the little mannerisms that they do. You know, that he like the way he moved his face, like his facial expressions, like everything, the way he spoke. When you watched like comparison videos with like a bit of interview with Freddie Mercury and then like Rami Malek, it was obviously nothing's going to be 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be exact on, but it's close enough that it's
right. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's really, and I mean, that is kind of a sort of a balance you need to find with those kind of films, is how well do we cast someone versus how well do they look enough like the person, or are they just a better actor?
Yeah,
you could hire someone who looks like insane like them but could be an awful actor.
Yeah.
I mean, the one case that sticks out to me, going back to Nowhere Boy, is the kid who plays George Harrison. He's not really in the film that much. Like he says a couple of lines in sort of mainly in the background of a lot of it, but he looks absolutely nothing like George Harrison, like not even vaguely close.
Yeah.
Like the guy who plays John Lennon is like kind of there, and the guy who plays Paul McCartney is like young looking, so it works. But the guy who plays George is just not
right. Yeah.
Not even right. But that's sort of the balance, I guess, is like, you know, he doesn't look exactly like George, but you know, he's not in the film that much, and he probably is a pretty decent guitarist from Russia, so he can sort of sit in there. But yeah,
have you seen the George Harrison documentary? I think it's got like a few parts.
Like the 3-hour long film.
Yeah. I think it's in parts, isn't it? It's my brother made my family watch the whole thing. Like I
didn't know it was in parts, so I just watched it in the whole scene.
Oh, maybe no, it wasn't in parts, but we had to pause it 2 times.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
I was about to say.
Because we weren't going to sit down. Like I wouldn't have sat down and watched 3 hours about George Harrison, but
I did.
You're probably a bigger fan than me. But I mean, it was insane, and I didn't, you know, before watching that, I kind of didn't really think much of George Harrison. Like, obviously, I knew he was a member of the Beatles and stuff, but I just didn't really know about all of the things that he'd done, you know, after the Beatles, you know, and all of his kind of explorations into music. And I didn't even know he had his own album, and then I listened to some songs of it, and you know,
the album he did, the triple album, All Things Must Pass, is brilliant.
Yes.
And I would own it if it wasn't bloody expensive. But it's such a good album, and there's some really good songs on there. And the thing about George is the fact that he was kind of just completely overshadowed for like majority of his time in the Beatles. He came out with the triple album of fully finished songs the year the Beatles broke up, because he had so much like backed up, like so much of a backlog of songs that he'd written.
Yeah.
But none of the other guys particularly wanted to work on. It's just it's quite sad. But yeah, no, he had a massive.
That seems to happen like an unusual amount, you know. Like I can think of a famous example of that. Obviously, completely different style, but you know, Dave Grohl spent years writing Foo Fighters songs while he was in Nirvana, and never had the confidence to basically bring them to the front and say, you know, can we do one of my songs? And then, you know, Foo Fighters formed, and then they're all like massive hits. It's crazy.
And it just went really well. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of sad, especially because, I mean, Dave Grohl goes for both of them. They're both really good musicians in different ways. Dave Grohl seems to me to be a lot better of a drummer, but also he seems to. I've watched an interview with him where he says he doesn't really understand the guitar, but he knows, he recognizes certain patterns and he just feels his way through it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a sign of brilliance with it. And George Harrison was brilliant in his own way of just genius, practically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it is quite sad to watch.
Is it true that the Beatles, even the Beatles, didn't have a massive grasp of music theory? You know, maybe especially somewhat like where it was, you know, they maybe knew how to play some chords and stuff, but
the idea is, a lot of people say that when they don't want to learn music theory, but the Beatles didn't know music theory, which is like half true. They may not have understood it in the way that like some classical trained musician is.
Sure.
But they did get it. And
yeah.
They had their own words for it. They had their own understanding of it that they all shared. So instead of a diminished chord, they called it a demented chord, I think it was, for some reason.
Nice.
So they'd be like, oh, we'll play Be Demented there. And then, yeah, I mean, Paul McCartney was probably the one with the most knowledge musically, because his dad was more trained, so he sort of brought on that. But yeah, I mean, it said John Lennon didn't really consider himself much of a guitarist. He didn't really like playing lead guitar. He was a bit embarrassed by it, because he was like, Paul and George are much better than I am. I just sort of play around with chords.
Right.
He's a brilliant rhythm player.
And yeah.
And then there's the story of Here Comes the Sun, where there's a transition section that is in like 7/4 or something. And George Harrison knew, oh, that's in 7/4.
Right.
Like as he wrote it, was like, oh, that's that section.
Yeah.
7/4. And he brings it into the studio and says to Ringo while they're recording it, he goes, oh, that bit you need to do in 7/4. And Ringo's like, I don't know what that means. I'm just going to do it until I land on beat. I'll just figure it out.
I've seen that interview where he talks about, I've seen an interview where he talks exactly about that. Like he didn't know how to count it. Like he just kind of, oh man, I'm going to have to refer back to it because that was...
He was like, I'll figure it out. I'll listen to it and I'll do it.
Because he knew how to. He had enough feel that he knew when to come back in, but he didn't know how to like count it in his head. Like he wasn't counting in 7/4 as he played it. He was just feeling along till he knew when he was like coming in. If that makes sense. Yeah.
He just knew. Bang.
I mean, that's how I play drums. I don't know anything. Like if someone says, do like, 3/4 or something, I'm just like, what? I'll just listen to you play it and then I'll join in, like, because I'll be able to feel it out from what you're playing, and then I'll come in because I can play stuff, but I don't know what it's called. Like,
I mean, for me, my thing with time signatures is everything's in 4/4 pretty much.
Yeah.
And then for 3/4, I just refer to Piano Man and go 1, 2, and then sing Piano Man in my head, and then I get into the rhythm of it. And then stuff like 5/4, just don't even bother. This confusing.
Yeah, no, I don't.
That throws me. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that.
It's like all the drummers nowadays, like, all these, like, I scroll on Instagram and it's just these amazing, brilliant musicians who are like counting like insane measures, and it just, but the thing is, right, that's all very well and good, and you listen to it and you go, that's impressive, that's visually and audibly impressive, but I don't want to hear that in a song. That's not going to make me groove. I can't dance to that because I'm stopping and starting every 4 beats. I'm like, oh, it's meant to be a crash there, and then it's meant to be, you can't groove to that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day with complex harmony, because I mean, by the time this podcast will go up, I've probably done my video analysing harmony. But I was thinking to myself, like, because I was sat writing a song and I was just like, all these chords are just so samey, because it's just, you're just using the same chords, and and harmony lets you go to interesting places. But if you put too much of there's a reason that chords fit in a key together, because they work really well. There's no point doing loads of complex stuff just for the sake of being complex. Right. I could play like something really harmonically complex, and maybe impressive to people who know what you're doing, but to the average person, they'll be like, what the hell was that? It's just random notes.
Because most of us have when it comes to music, we have pop music sensibilities. We know what sounds right, because everything that we listen to, in like the West, I guess, is all kind of that's
built in. I mean, and that's what I was thinking. You can put certain other chords into your diatonic keys. I mean, you can go from C to E major and it'll work, but you've got to think, why are you doing that? You can't, don't just do it just because you can. Do it because it adds something. Do it because it leads to something else. Just don't be complex for the sake of being complex is the point. Just work on sounding good, and that will be your point.
Never overplay. Less is always more. Well, most of the time, less is more, in my opinion.
Find that balance. Then
exactly.
You don't want to be too boring and play a country song with only 3 chords, but you don't also want to end up being like math rock, because you've got to find your nice in between.
Math rock is sick. Like, to be fair, if like the nice sounding nice sounding riffs, like those like tapping guitar parts that some of them do, where they're like just tapping the strings and doing really like intricate but really beautiful and melodic riffs that fit in well. But then there's some which is just like, is this jazz? Because I can't listen to it.
Don't become a jazz musician for the sake of doing jazz.
Yeah.
Unless you are a jazz piano player, then I applaud you, because that's complex and hard.
I saw a meme. I saw a meme that was the arm, like the hand shaking meme, where it's like 2 hands like that, and on one side it was like musicians with no experience, and then the other hand was jazz musicians, and then the middle text was playing wrong notes that no one wants to hear.
Pretty much. There's no point, because you sound weird. But yeah, find your balance.
I'm not slagging off jazz musicians, because I think jazz musicians are extremely talented, but I think there is a level of pretentiousness when it comes to jazz, and like maybe a bit of elitism, a bit of musical elitism with people who like listening to jazz music, because it's more complex, and that means we're better than most people. Do you know what I mean?
You can have your complex jazz music, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know, Blue Suede Shoes is a fun song, and I like listening to it, and it's the same three chords. Like, just enjoy yourselves. Don't gatekeep. Stop.
Absolutely, man.
This is coming from me, who my sister. My sister has an Abbey Road T-shirt, so I said to her, "Oh, name me one song."
Oh no.
I did that. That was not good.
Man, I saw another meme which was like, it was like one of those drawings of those characters that like based off of like the Doomer meme, those like white outline, and so it was like this guy who's like giving this young musician like a microphone. It's like, this is a really precious microphone. It was used at Abbey Road. It's like, it's seen so much history and so much, so much has happened. And the kid's just like, well, where's Abbey Road? Whatever. Like, just hold it closer to this bong while I take this bong rip for my album, so I can sample that sound. It's like, do you know what I mean? I think there is a level of acceptable kind of, maybe not gatekeeping, but protecting something that is culturally important and not letting it be kind of disrespected. But I mean,
you've got to, I mean, I don't go up to random strangers and
no,
that's
don't
dumb.
Do that. No.
That's dumb.
Like people who, if you wear a band T-shirt and someone comes up to you and oh, name all their songs, it's like, no, it's a cool T-shirt. Leave this person. Why are you harassing this random person that you don't know? Like, allow it. Like,
harass the people you don't harass the people.
That's not good advice.
No. But yeah, like, don't gatekeep. It's dumb. And
are you wearing an orange T-shirt right now? Have you even been to prison? Have you even?
What are you doing? Colorado? Have you been there? I don't know.
No, I haven't. No. My mum has.
There you go. See.
There we go. This is my mum's jumper. I nicked it.
Never been to America.
No, neither. I'd love to go one day, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe when it's a bit better, but
it's not in our lifetime.
Well, I mean, I say that, but we live in the UK, Jack. So I mean,
we aren't.
We aren't much better.
Or we were. I don't know.
I just want to go and
equal level.
I just want to go and start my own country on Mars and just be the only resident.
A lot of people have had that plan. We were talking a couple of years ago about founding an island. Just like find an island somewhere and found like this home, this country where we just don't have money and we just share everything. Basically a communist island. That was the
plan. You can buy like a square meter of land and become a lord. Like there's some weird loophole in our system where, in the UK you can buy a plot of land for like not that much money, like a small plot of land, and you own that and you are the lord of your estate. You're 1 meter square. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Oh man.
The communist utopia of that.
You can grow one potato in that little bit of land.
But yeah, like cut the communist talk, because that's
maybe
going to be political.
Oh no, because we're only speaking in jest. It's only
yes. We have no political leanings whatsoever.
On this podcast. On this podcast, we don't. Yeah.
No. We're completely.
What you don't see
completely
is
center.
when we stop recording. And really get into it. That's what people don't see.
No. But yeah, what were we on about gatekeeping?
Yeah.
And I would
and like bands and stuff.
Yeah, I would also like to yeah, I mean, do that. So, what annoys me is, and I guess I'm guilty of it as well, is when someone finds a new band and they're quite new to it, and you're like, oh, listen to this, do this, do this, do this, and you're like, oh, you know, if you're a fan of them, do this. And it's like, just let people listen to them, just let people enjoy it, like,
yeah,
you know, because otherwise you come across annoying, and then people don't want to associate with it anymore.
Not everyone's, you know, not everyone's way of enjoying something is the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's really important. I remember when I was a lot younger, like my brother used to like, because it was like when we were a lot younger, like obviously it doesn't happen now, but when we were like a lot younger, if I showed interest in something my brother showed interest in, it was like I was copying him. Do you know that whole thing? You know, where you feel like your sibling is copying you and like trying to take your identity, and in reality, as a younger sibling, I can say it's only just because you feel inspired and like you look up to that person and you learn a lot from that person, and so you wanna kind of absorb as much as you can, and so when I started listening to like some of the same bands that my brother did, I remember that it was that feeling of slight resentment, because it was like, oh, you're kind of stealing something which is so personal to me and it's like my thing. But I think as you get older, you realize that isn't the case. But
no, I find it with my sister all the time. You know,
yeah.
When I was quite a bit younger, I started playing Pokemon at like the age of like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And then she started playing it pretty soon afterwards. And I remember being like, why? That's my thing. But like now we enjoy it together. I mean, we play through the games and stuff. And it's fine. Don't be a knob.
Basically. I mean, I think it's understandable when that's the way music makes you feel. It makes it feel like it's so personal to you. I think that's just the sign of a good, you know, album or something, or a good band or a good musician, when you listen to it and you feel like so you can relate to it so much that it becomes like a part of who you are. And it's like whenever, but you forget that like millions of other people have listened to that album.
They've also,
and they all
the exact same thing.
Exactly, and they all feel the same, and they want it to be their little secret. And it's like when you stumble across like a small band or like a small like obscure songs, and people are like, oh, I really hope this doesn't get put on TikTok and blown up, because I want it to be my own little secret thing. And it's like, be happy for the artist who's getting recognition for their song.
Let them have it. That's dumb. Just people need to stop being dumb. I have albums I've quite personal connections with, but it's not so much that I can't just, like, I remember I first listened to what was that? This I've completely forgotten what it was. I'll go through everyone. First time I ever listened to it, like Abbey Road, like properly all the way through. It had been lent to me by a friend, and I remember I brought that friend over after I first listened to it, and we just sat and we listened to it together. We just, and share that experience of Abbey Road, which is a brilliant album for anyone who hasn't heard it. I've got it.
Nice. I
don't know if you can tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just
wait, Jack, do you like the Beatles by any chance?
No. What the Beatles?
What do you mean? Who are they? I mean, I like other insects just as much, you know.
The crickets. That's also a band. Never mind.
Oh.
Shit. I can't think of any other insects now. The flies. Mark Fly, never mind.
Yeah.
I would actually like, well, not related to Mark Fly, but it's remind me. I'd like to take back a comment I made. I think it would have been the last episode. I said something positive about a song by Jason Derulo and Adam Levine.
Yeah.
I'd like to take back all positive things I said about that song.
You can't do it now. It's in the history books now. It's official canon. You like Jason Derulo and Adam Levine. That it's official.
My point is the song was catchy enough throughout that, you know, it wasn't as bland as most other pop songs. I do take it back because for everyone who doesn't know, we took about like a week or two off from filming these because we've got a backlog of them. So it's been a couple of weeks since we recorded that, and it's been on the radio at work daily since. And
now you hate it.
I hate it so much.
It grinds you down. It grinds you down when you listen to it non-stop over and over. It becomes part of your subconscious, you know. It's not good.
I can't get Jason Derulo screaming Jason Derulo out of my head. That's
Jason Derulo.
It's just I can't do it. But yeah, that's my take back of today. Is
I
said something positive that I now resent saying.
I was meaning to ask you, man, how's stuff with your band going? How's recording going?
We are going pretty okay. I've actually got to, after we've done here, I've got a couple of other things I need to record. But let me have a look at my notes. So out of our first EP, there's only one song that hasn't been recorded at all yet.
Nice.
And the 5 other ones, only one of them doesn't have a lead guitar on it, and I think otherwise they're all pretty much done in terms of
solid,
at least demo level. And then there's an acoustic version of a song I need to record, and a couple of other sort of little bits about. But yeah, that's my current placement. Is 5 of the 6 songs are at least demos.
Nice, man. That's sick. You should consider applying for what's it called? Some like gigs and stuff for summer. Do you reckon?
What I'm waiting for is restrictions to lift a bit so I can get demos with vocals on them.
Sure. Oh, because you need Lloyd to come up, don't you?
Yeah. And then really, I'm not sure gigging this summer might work out. I'm being a bit weary of the lifting of restrictions as of currently, because I don't know. I know they say the 21st of June, but I have a feeling it might not be exactly then.
I think you're justified in your caution, because like every other time the government has said something, it's usually, you know, there's been a U-turn. There's always a U-turn, and I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. Is the way I'm going to look at it.
That's my feeling. Is I'm practically so far with the rollout of the vaccine and everything. I think by next year, I think we should be at a point where restrictions are pretty much gone.
Yeah,
but for the remainder of this year, I want to be cautious with it. So, but on that, we have got loads of music, once I've recorded it, that is ready to go out.
Yeah.
So even if we're not gigging this year or playing live shows, we've got plans of stuff to do.
Sure. You'll be doing releases at least.
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much timelined the releases.
Nice.
In relation to each other. I don't even know exactly when the EP is going to be released. Just because of, I don't know when we'll be able to get everything sort of done and finished.
Sure.
But I'm looking for sort of mid to the second half of the year, sort of like September-ish time. And then everything after that I've got in relation to the first EP and the first single and stuff. So I've got it planned out, but I need to actually get around to recording it all now.
Sure. No, it
But
seems really positive though, man. Like you've done a lot in a short space of time, really
I
have.
know, and
Yeah,
what was it, like a couple of weeks ago, really, about a month or so ago, that I actually got all the equipment set up,
yeah.
and we're at a point now where 5 of those songs are at a demo stage,
That
and
is super impressive, man.
hmm,
Yeah, I think I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe it's just like the whole perspective of the pandemic has kind of has. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of. I think it has kind of helped a lot of people get in order what they need to do. You know, because it's made people think, well, I might not get a chance to do this ever again, so I'm going to make the most
yeah, I
of this.
think, as I say, I'm being quite cautious this year in terms of playing live, but really next year, and restrictions allowing, I want to be able to just go. I just want to run with it.
Yeah,
Because it's something I've wanted to do. Sorry.
that's all right.
It's something I've wanted to do for ages, and the fact that I'm actually at a point now where it's getting to a point where it's pretty much it's not pretty much ready for release, but like a lot of those demos are pretty much clean. I mean, 2 of them really are like the final mixes, and they just need the vocals adding on and then mix them in. And a couple of the others sort of need tweaking here and there, like the bass part in one song I noticed was stupidly loud. I think I recorded it a bit too loud because I couldn't quite hear it in my headphone, and then I realised afterwards, oh no, that is quite loud. So
have you done all the tests of like listening to it through multiple like mediums to get a sense of how it sounds like unplugged and with headphones on, without in ears?
I don't have speakers set up in here through my interface, so I can't actually play anything directly from Ableton.
Sure.
But what I do every time I create an MP3 demo is I email it to Lloyd, because Lloyd wants to be able to hear it and be able to make sure it's all decent. But I also email it to myself, and then I'll listen to it through my phone. And I've been listening with my actual headphones, like the ones you've got on now, but I've been listening using these slightly crappier earphones as well. So yeah, I've been trying out little things. What I would really like is once I can get some proper big speakers in here and actually listen to it through that.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of money that I don't have.
Yeah, man. So. Because oh man, do you know what? It sucks. I was walking past my local like charity shop a while back, before it closed, before the lockdown.
Yeah.
And they had all these like speakers and stuff just like selling for like a few quid, and I walked past and I was like, I'll think about it, maybe I'll like maybe I'll see about getting those tomorrow or something. And then I'm there the next day and they're gone, and it's like one of those things. I'm like, and there was a record player there. There's like all this stuff I should have got, but
just grab it. Records from charity shops are always interesting because they've always been dragged out of someone's loft from about 30, 40 years ago, and they're all really old.
And they're strange.
My copy of Band on the Run was from a charity shop for like £3, and it's scratched up quite badly. I found like an Elvis record for like, I think it was like £1 or something.
Nice.
And it's like this double album of just Elvis songs, just most of the stuff he released, like singles. So I've got that. I haven't listened to that in a while actually, so I need to make sure that's actually works. But other than that,
pretty cool.
Buy stuff from charity shops because it goes to charity, and also you find loads of cool stuff that you didn't know you wanted.
I love charity shopping. Charity shopping is like one of my, like, I would call it a hobby, because I think I've done it enough to call it a hobby, like where I've literally gone out with the intention of like, I'm just going to go on the train, go around Ware and go around Hertford and just go in all the charity shops and have a look at what they've got. Because I've got loads of stuff from charity shops. I got a cool hat. I got t-shirts before. I've got t-shirts from there, loads. I've got like 3 t-shirts from charity shops. I've got like a jumper or two from a charity shop. You find so much cool stuff, so many films as well, loads of films. If you want a DVD for cheap, you know, that they'll have all the classics there, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I went into HMV up here in the city, and you know they'll sell CDs for brand new, and they'll be, you know, I don't know, 10, 12 quid. Went into a charity shop, found one for 97p, pretty much good as new. I was like, you know what, that's decent enough. Take
why
that.
not? Yeah. That's
so
a win.
Just go to charity shops and help out people. Don't always go to HMV because I spend a lot of money in HMV.
Oh man, I love charity shops. I mean, maybe HMV is fine, but like Amazon, nah. Go and buy your music from a record shop or from a
definitely
from a charity shop or buy it secondhand online, but don't use Amazon, man. Evil.
I'm guilty of using Amazon quite a lot, but yeah, don't
no,
use it.
I mean, I say that, but we all have to use it. It's a necessary evil, like, you know.
Yeah, at this point, but what I do is if I can't find, like, I'll look in as many record shops as I can before I go to the point of buying a record off of Amazon.
Yeah.
Because I made a mistake.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Go on.
No, you. It sounds like you're about to.
Oh yeah, I made the mistake of buying a record off of Amazon and then realising I could have bought it cheaper in an actual record store. So I learnt my lesson. Look everywhere else before you go to Amazon.
Yeah. Are you a peruser of eBay?
Not as much anymore because I just don't feel the need to. Why?
Oh no, I was just wondering. I'm an absolute sucker for eBay, so I love finding stuff on there.
I used to, when I was quite a bit younger, I used to buy like loads of like Lego off of eBay and stuff.
Nice.
Like, oh, that's a cool minifigure, but I the set it's in is like £100. I could just buy the figure by itself. So I used to do that a lot, but I don't often anymore because I don't trust buying tech off of eBay as much.
No, yeah.
I feel it's a bit dodgy sometimes.
I see. For me, like I wouldn't buy a phone or like anything like that off of eBay because you just don't know. But I feel like with a lot of analog stuff and a lot of like stuff that you can kind of trust, I like, especially with drums and cymbals and stuff, like all of the purchases I've made on eBay have been reliable, and I've had like nice chats with the people like I've like bought it off of, like, because I feel like there's like a sense of camaraderie and trust between musicians when it comes to buying and selling instruments. Like if a musician is going to sell you something, they're going to want to know that it's like going to be put to good use, aren't they? They're going to, I remember when I bought my drum kit, like my dad drove me and we went to go pick it up, and because I bought the kit secondhand off eBay, and I picked it up from the guy, and he was like, you know, an older drummer. He was selling his kit. He'd got a new one, selling his old one, and he was like just giving me like nice bits of advice. He was like, this stuck with me as well because it was actually really important. He was like, don't ever, like, whenever you're with a band and you're recording something and you're signing things and you're like making contracts and stuff, put your name to everything, every single thing you did for that band, because you want to get credit for everything that you possibly do. And he said, because I've been burnt before. And I was just like, there's a story there. I would love to know what happened, because like the way he said it was like he'd had like a flashback, because like he just saw, like, you know,
he was secretly the drummer of like the Rolling Stones or something. Like,
he'd been like sidelined by someone and like cut out of a deal, and but he was a really nice dude. And
I'm quite a stickler for giving credit on stuff. I think I might go a bit overboard to the point where whenever we write a song, I'll type up a lyric sheet so I know the words, and then I'll put who wrote the song, who did all the parts, because otherwise I don't want to be at a point later down the line that someone goes, I did something on that. Oh, whoops. So give credit to
credit where credit is due.
But yeah, I mean, back when we were first looking at recording last year, we were like, we're going to have to bring on quite a few people to record with us. We're going to need to bring on a drummer. We're going to need to bring on a lead guitarist. And we were like, oh, even though there won't be members of the band, maybe not. We still going to need to give credit to everyone involved. And like, there's songs on our first EP that there's even though there's only 2 of us in the band, all the 6 of the songs that are on there, there's 4 writers across the whole span of it.
Wow.
Because Lloyd and I co-write quite a bit. Then our friend Tim helped out on some of our earlier songs.
Big up Tim.
Honestly, Tim, great writer. And then there's one song, one of our really old songs, which is written by me and my uncle.
Oh wow!
Because I was playing him the chord progression that I'd come up with. I was like, I've got a melody, but I can't think of any words. So he came up with this chorus bit, and he was like, "Oh, it's just a placeholder, but that gives you a general idea." And I was like, "Yeah, no, that's the perfect chorus." So
so you kept it. You credit him on that. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. So there's 4 writers on our first EP, even though there's only 2 people actually in the band. But yeah.
Well, everyone contributes in some way. I mean, if you could even break it down to, I'm gonna just credit my parents for making me for financial support.
But yeah, and then I was saying to Lloyd, because I don't know how many people will end up buying CDs, but I was like,
I'll buy 5.
5.
I'll buy 5.
Like £15 that will end up being but I said to him, on the back cover of the CD, I want a special thanks section, and I want to thank a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's a lot of people, because by the end of it, we ended up with like 15, 20 people. He was just like, why don't we just say thanks to everyone who ever was involved and so on.
It's a nice idea though, having like a credits list,
Yeah, and it's always one of my favorite bits of opening an album. I don't know why, but whenever I open up an album, I'll try and find the credits of who did what.
Yeah,
I just like to know.
It's like in the beginning of a book when an author puts, this is for, and then they write like a nice little anecdote, like this is for this person who did this to help me when I was, and it's really, it's like an insight into the creation behind that.
Yeah, and I just like knowing who helped out and who's been involved. It's a nice bit of opening an album for me, and so I want to be able to have that in our stuff. But I may have said give special thanks to like 20 odd people, and he was like, I can't physically fit that on the thing with everything else.
Really small font.
It's just tiny. Basically, just make it like a black line, and then just this tiny little font. But yeah, it's fine.
On that note, I think we should thank everyone for watching.
Oh, very nice.
Baby,
segue.
do you like that segue?
That was very good. Very smooth.
I am professional now.
We entered the realm of a professional. Bloody chair. Yes, shall we do the outro then?
Yeah, so as I was saying, thank you all for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time. See ya.